Ladies and gentlemen, see, when a woman knows who she is, what she brings, and what she will not accept, baby, that's a whole different level of dangerous. Men fear a woman who knows her worth, not just because she's confident, but because she operates on a whole different frequency. When a woman knows her worth, she doesn't entertain games, she doesn't chase validation, and she certainly doesn't beg for attention. She walks with a certain presence, a quiet power, a knowing that says, I don't need you, I choose you. And that right there, that shakes a man who's not ready for it. A woman who knows her worth doesn't fold under pressure. She doesn't get swayed by sweet talk or impressed by temporary effort. She's seen enough, been through enough, and grown enough to spot the difference between a man with good intentions and one with good lines. Her time is valuable, her energy is sacred, and her peace is non-negotiable. That's what sets her apart. See, the problem is a lot of men are used to women who doubt themselves, women who don't realize what they bring to the table, women who settle for less because they're afraid they won't find more. So when a woman walks in who knows what she deserves and is willing to walk away if she doesn't get it, it puts pressure on him. Now he's not in control. Now he's got to prove himself. Now he's got to show up in a way he may not be used to. It's intimidating because a woman like that isn't controlled by fear. She doesn't stay because she's lonely. She stays because she sees value. She doesn't love from a place of desperation. She loves from a place of overflow. And that kind of love, it can't be manipulated. You can't breadcrumb her and expect her to stick around. You can't disappear and reappear like nothing happened. She's got boundaries and she enforces them with grace and without apology. She knows her worth. So she doesn't chase closure. She doesn't try to convince someone to see her value. If you don't see it, that's your loss, not hers. She won't compete for attention. She won't beg to be chosen. She is the choice, and she knows it. And when a woman carries herself like that, it forces a man to look in the mirror. Is he ready? Can he lead? Can he protect? Can he pour into her the way she pours into herself? Because she's not asking for a man to complete her. She's already whole. She's asking for a man to come correct or not come at all. When a man sees a woman like that, he's got two choices: elevate or exit, because she's not going to bend to fit into a life that's too small for her. She's not going to downplay her gifts just to make someone else feel comfortable. She's not going to shrink herself to be digestible. She's going to stand tall, stay rooted, and keep rising. And that kind of woman, the one who truly knows her value, isn't just respected, she's feared. Presence is louder than attention seeking. It's not about how much noise you make, how flashy you dress, or how many eyes you attract. It's about the energy you carry when you walk into a room. Presence is felt, not forced. It's that quiet confidence, that sense of self that doesn't need validation, doesn't need to be the center of the room to be the center of attention. And the wild part, the moment you stop trying to be seen is exactly when people start noticing you. A woman with presence doesn't have to prove anything. She doesn't have to explain who she is or what she deserves. It shows in how she carries herself and how she speaks and how she looks at you with calm eyes that say, I've already done the work. I'm not here for the circus. And that kind of presence, it can't be faked. It's built. It comes from knowing yourself, from surviving storms, from being broken and coming back stronger. Attention seeking is loud. It's desperate. It needs to be fed constantly. Likes, compliments, double taps, what you do in text. It's exhausting. And the people who chase attention the most are usually the ones starving for it. But presence is rooted. It doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't beg, it chooses. The woman with presence walks in and makes others adjust their tone, their posture, their approach. She changes the energy just by being there, not because she demanded the spotlight, but because she carries her own light. Men notice this, they feel it. And the ones who aren't used to being challenged by a woman's self-worth, they get uncomfortable because presence exposes weakness. It shines a light on all the performative nonsense. It makes it clear who's genuine and who's just pretending. That's why some men will try to diminish a woman like that. They'll call her too much, intimidating, or hard to handle. Not because she isn't, but because her presence reveals their lack of substance. See, attention can be bought. You can flash money, post pictures, throw compliments around, and get attention. But presence is earned. You earn it by knowing your worth, standing on your truth, and not shrinking when the world wants you to play small. It's not loud, but it's powerful. It commands respect without raising its voice. And the people who are used to superficial relationships, they don't know what to do with someone like that. Presence is what makes people remember you long after you've left the room. It's what draws people to ask, who is she? Not because of what you wore or how you posed, but because of the calm authority you carry, the confidence, the class, the unshakable peace. You don't have to beg to be noticed when you're already standing in your purpose. You don't have to reach when everything about you is already speaking louder than words. Standards make boys uncomfortable and challenge real men. When a woman sets clear boundaries, holds firm to her expectations, and refuses to settle, it separates the grown from the growing. It's easy to love a woman when she asks for nothing, when she allows anything, when she molds herself to whatever a man offers. But the moment she speaks up, the moment she says, no, this isn't enough, that's when the real test begins. Not just for her, but for the man in front of her. A woman with standards is not difficult. She's clear. She's not asking for too much. She's asking for what's right. And when a man isn't prepared to meet her where she is, when he's more interested in comfort than growth, he'll label her as too picky, too demanding, or high maintenance. Not because she actually is, but because her expectations highlight his lack of effort. Boys want convenience. They want a woman who accepts crumbs, entertains inconsistency, and celebrates the bare minimum. But a real man sees standards and rises to them. He doesn't run from expectations. He welcomes them because he has his own. See, boys get defensive when you challenge their behavior. They try to flip the script, make you question your worth, make you feel like asking for respect is unreasonable. They play on your empathy, your patience, your hope that they'll change. But it's not your job to shrink your standards to make someone feel secure. If he feels threatened by the simple requirement of consistency, honesty, and effort, he's not ready for the relationship he's pretending to pursue. Standards aren't walls, they're filters. They don't keep out the good ones, they keep out the unprepared. They keep out the ones who only want access, but not responsibility. And yes, they may scare some people off, but that's exactly the point. Your standards are not supposed to make everyone comfortable. They're supposed to protect your peace, your time, your heart. They're supposed to weed out the ones who talk but can't deliver, who show up but can't stay, who want love but won't commit. A real man won't see your standards as a threat. He'll see them as a guide. He'll appreciate that you know your value, that you won't tolerate less than you give, that you're not looking for someone to fill a void, but someone to build with. He'll understand that a woman with standards has already done the work. She's not confused about what she wants, and she's not afraid to wait for it. When you hold your standards, you hold your power. You stop settling for potential, for promises with no proof. You stop letting chemistry blind you to character. You stop letting loneliness open doors that self-worth should have locked. And in doing that, you invite in a higher level of connection, one built not on convenience, but on respect. Because standards don't push the right man away, they pull the wrong ones out. A healed woman is powerful and unshakable. She's not reacting out of pain, not seeking love to fix a wound, not moving through life with open scars, hidden behind smiles. She's done the work, faced the mirror, sat in the silence, and felt every emotion she once tried to avoid. She didn't just patch herself up, she rebuilt, brick by brick. And now she's a force. When a woman is healed, she sees differently. She hears what isn't said. She feels energy before words are spoken. Her discernment is sharp because she's no longer blinded by the need to be chosen. She doesn't fall for potential. She watches patterns. She doesn't chase red flags hoping they'll change color. She walks away with peace instead of clinging to chaos. That makes her dangerous, not in a reckless way, but in a steady, deeply rooted way that cannot be shaken by charm, empty promises, or emotional gain. A healed woman doesn't play small to make others feel comfortable. She doesn't fake joy to avoid conflict. She says what she means and means what she says. She loves without losing herself and gives without being drained. She's not guarded, but she's selective. She knows what it took to become this version of herself, and she refuses to allow just anyone access to that space. Her boundaries aren't about ego. They're about survival, about growth, about honoring the version of herself that finally found peace. What people don't understand is that healing changes your appetite. What used to excite you now exhausts you. What you used to chase, you now walk away from without hesitation. The toxic patterns you used to call normal now feel foreign and repulsive. And that shift, it's intimidating to people who are still stuck in cycles they haven't confronted. They'll call her cold, detached, or too independent, not realizing that her strength is the result of battles she had to fight alone. A healed woman loves differently too. Her love isn't frantic or possessive. It's calm, safe, intentional. She's not trying to prove her worth to anyone. She knows it. She's not afraid of being alone because she's learned to enjoy her own company. That kind of woman is magnetic, not because she tries to be, but because her energy is clean. There's no desperation, no bitterness, no hidden agenda, just present, and that alone is rare. Men who aren't ready for that kind of energy often find themselves confused. They're used to women bending, breaking, compromising just to be seen. But a healed woman, she doesn't beg, she doesn't cling, she observes, she moves based on alignment, not emotion. And if she feels out of alignment, she exits, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because she knows the cost of staying in places that disturb her peace. It doesn't make her perfect, it makes her aware. Aware of who she is, what she needs, and what she will no longer tolerate. Love is a gift, not a requirement. Make him earn it. A woman who understands this doesn't just hand over her heart to anyone who shows interest. She doesn't confuse attention with intention. She recognizes that her love, her loyalty, her presence are not obligations. They are privileges. She is not here to prove she's lovable. She is love in full form, and whoever receives it must be ready to reciprocate it with the same depth, the same consistency, the same respect. There's a big difference between giving love and giving access. Many women have been conditioned to believe that if they give more, do more, prove more, then they'll be valued. But a woman who knows love as a gift doesn't overextend herself just to feel needed. She doesn't operate from a place of scarcity, afraid someone else might take her place. She doesn't rush to lock someone down out of fear of being alone. She knows that her presence alone adds value to a man's life. And if he can't see it, that's not her burden to carry. When a man truly understands that love isn't owed, that it's something sacred being offered to him, his behavior shifts. He becomes intentional. He starts to move differently, speak differently, show up more consistently, not because he's afraid to lose her, but because he recognizes the rarity of what he's being given. That's what happens when a woman sets the tone. When she doesn't demand love, but instead chooses to give it to someone worthy. Men often confuse ease with loyalty. They think if a woman sticks around through mistreatment, that means she loves deeply. But real love has boundaries. Real love has standards. A woman who knows her love is a gift will not stay where she is not respected. She will not pour endlessly into someone who only takes. Her love is not a tool for fixing broken men. It's not a therapy session. It's not a lifeline. It's a partnership built on mutual effort and growth. When a woman makes a man earn her love, it's not about being difficult or playing games. It's about valuing herself enough to require what she deserves. It's about understanding that true connection can't be forced, and love given too freely often gets taken for granted. A man who hasn't worked for it will never truly appreciate it. He won't protect what was handed to him without effort. But when he's invested, when he's had to show up consistently, communicate openly, and prove his readiness, then he values what he had. A woman like this doesn't fear walking away. She's not afraid of starting over. She's more afraid of settling for less than what aligns with her purpose. She knows that love given too easily can become expected instead of appreciated. And she refuses to let her heart be a convenience. She's not withholding love out of pride. She's preserving it for the one who truly earns it. Never lower your standards to make someone stay. A woman who knows her worth doesn't negotiate the non-negotiables. She doesn't shrink her voice, her needs, or her values just to hold on to someone who was never meant to stay. She understands that the right man will meet her where she is, not ask her to come down to where he's comfortable. Lowering your standards for love is the fastest way to lose yourself in the process of keeping someone else. Too many women have been taught to compromise their boundaries for the sake of keeping peace, to stay quiet when something doesn't feel right, to accept behavior that hurts them just to avoid being alone. But there's nothing peaceful about abandoning yourself. There's nothing healthy about twisting yourself into a version someone else prefers while you silently suffer. That's not love, it's survival. And a woman who has grown past survival isn't interested in staying where her spirit is suffocating. Standards are not about being difficult. They're about being clear. Clear about what you will and won't accept. Clear about how you want to be treated. Clear about your emotional, mental, and spiritual needs. And anyone who calls your standards too much is just telling you they are not enough. If someone only values you when you're convenient, easy, or quiet, they don't value you at all. They value what they can get from you without having to grow. When a woman lowers her standards, it never leads to more love or more loyalty. It leads to resentment. It leads to emotional exhaustion. It leads to pretending everything is okay while your soul is screaming for something more. Every time you excuse disrespect, every time you let something slide that goes against your gut, you chip away at your self-respect. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. And if you make it easy for someone to do the bare minimum, they'll never feel the need to do more. It takes strength to walk away from what you want when it's not giving you what you deserve. It takes courage to stand firm in your standards, even when you're tempted to settle. But that strength is what protects your peace. That courage is what attracts someone who's actually ready. Someone who doesn't see your standards as a challenge, but as a clear roadmap to building something real. Lowering your standards may keep someone in your life temporarily, but it will cost you your joy, your confidence, your energy. It will leave you constantly questioning if you're asking for too much, when in reality, you're probably asking the wrong person. The right one will never make you feel like you have to prove why you deserve the bare minimum. He'll already see your value, and he'll be willing to rise to the occasion. Holding your standards isn't about ego. It's about honoring yourself and refusing to accept love that costs you your identity. You are the table. Act like it. Not the guest, not the server, not the decoration. You are the source, the foundation, the center where things gather, build, and grow. A woman who understands this doesn't wait for someone to invite her into a space she already belongs in. She brings value simply by showing up in her fullness. She doesn't ask for permission to be seen, to be heard, or to be respected. She commands it by how she carries herself. The phrase bring something to the table gets thrown around a lot, especially by people who don't realize that a real woman is the table. Her wisdom, her nurturing, her emotional intelligence, her loyalty, her vision, all of that is value. She creates peace and chaos, sees potential where others see problems, and brings life into any room she enters. That kind of power doesn't need to be dressed up or explained. It's felt. When a woman forgets she's the table, she starts acting like the chair, waiting to be pulled out, waiting to be needed, waiting to be noticed. She starts overcompensating, trying to prove she's worthy of a spot in someone else's life. She gives too much, accepts too little, and tolerates situations that drain her. But the moment she remembers her value, everything shifts. Her posture changes, her energy changes, her decisions start aligning with her worth instead of her fears. Staying the table means you don't chase, you choose, you don't settle, you evaluate. You don't accept crumbs and call it dinner. You know that anyone who comes into your life is either going to contribute or be excused. You're not looking to be completed because you're already whole. You're not looking for someone to carry you. You're looking for someone who can walk beside you equally with respect, with consistency, with intention. And when you carry yourself like the table, the right people approach you differently. They come with gratitude, not entitlement. They understand the blessing of being invited into your space, not the assumption that they belong there by default. A woman who knows she's the table doesn't entertain confusion. She doesn't tolerate confusion. She doesn't bend to fit someone's lack of readiness. She stays centered, grounded, and rooted in her truth.